Tonight on Sports Paws, field hockey takes on Maine while women's soccer tries to pick up their first victory of the young season.
Women's volleyball looks for their first win against the Friars of Providence College, and we look at QBSN's new show, Bobcat Breakdown.
All that and more tonight on Sports Paws.
Good evening and welcome to Sports Paws. I'm Arthur Bailin.
And I'm Arthur Lane. While this table is not round and neither of us are kings,
We'll recap the entire week in Quinnipiac sports for you, and boy, was it a big week.
women's soccer had 2 home games while the men were on the road.
And women's volleyball searched for their first win at home against Providence.
But first, Quinnipiac Athletics has released the 2013-2014 men's basketball non-conference schedule. Highlighting this year's slate is Pac-12 member Oregon State. The Bobcats will travel to Corvallis to take on the Beavers December 29th. As part of the 3-year deal, Oregon State will visit the Bobcats at the TD Bank Sports Center next season. Quinnipiac will complete the 3-year deal by traveling back to Oregon State in the 2015-2016 season. As for the rest of the Bobcats schedule, Quinnipiac will take on Hartford to open the season November 9th as part of the annual Connecticut 6 Classic. The Bobcats then travel to Philadelphia to take on the LaSalle Explorers as part of ESPN's 24 Hours of College Hoops Marathon. The team starts the home schedule November 16th as they host reigning American East champ Albany. Some notable MAC games include MAC defending champion Iona making the trip to Hamden January 2nd, while preseason favorite Manhattan visits the TD Bank Sports Center January 9th. Manhattan and Iona have been selected as the preseason favorites by CBS Sports New York reporter John Rothstein. The Bobcats were picked to finish 6th. With Quinnipiac basketball releasing their non-conference schedule this past week, what games are you going to highlight on their slate this year?
Definitely Iona early on in the season, 2 quick conference games for Quinnipiac. It's going to be a rough ride, but I think LaSalle in the second week of the season is going to be a little tough for Quinnipiac to jump off to a good start.
And then we've talked about John Rothstein's rankings, Quinnipiac number 6, Manhattan number 1, and then 2-time defending champion, MAC champion, Iona number 2. Give me your thoughts on those rankings.
I think Iona could be the number 1 team in the MAC. They have all the talent, and they've showed that they can make it to the tourney again. But I think Quinnipiac at 6 is a little low for them. I think they can jump up to 2 or 3. We'll see how the Bobcats do this year.
Thanks, Ben.
That was Ben Zabo, Q30's basketball analyst, discussing the basketball schedule and preseason. Moving on to field hockey, the Quinnipiac field hockey team plays Maine this week, hoping to bounce back from a loss against Boston College. The Maine Black Bears come into the game trying to pick up their second win of the season, while the Bobcats look to do the same. The Bobcats fell 5-3 against Maine the last time they faced. But that was last year. This year, the Blackbirds of the University of Maine traveled to Hamden to take on the Bobcats. In the first half, Nicole CV gets the deflection off the goaltender, Megan Conaboy, and Maine takes the early 1-0 lead. A few plays later, Lightning strikes in the same place twice as CV scores again from a corner on the left side of the net, and Maine takes the 2-0 lead. But Quinnipiac would respond as Kristen Engelke scores off a deflection, and the Bobcats cut the Maine lead in the half. But Maine would answer as Nicole Seavey completes the hat trick, and Maine goes into the half with a 3-1 lead. In the second half, Jess Rusin, off of the corner, scores from the top of the striking area, and Quinnipiac once again pulls within 1. But Maine would strike again as Annabelle Hamilton from the top of the arc gets the deflection off of a Bobcat defender for 2 Bears. In the waning minutes of the game, Annabelle Hamilton ices the game with a wicked shot from the top of the arc. Maine gets the win over Quinnipiac 5-2. The Cats drop their second in a row and fall 1-3 on the season.
Kristen Engelke makes Quinnipiac history, taking home the first MAC Weekly Award in Bobcat history. Engelke picked up Quinnipiac's lone goal against 5th-ranked Syracuse. She then picked up an assist before scoring the game winner against LaSalle.
The women's rugby team took on Air Force on Saturday for the first time in program history. The Bobcats came into the game with a 1-0 record. The team took control of the game, defeating the Falcons 35-14. Maggie Miles, Shannon Durkin, Haley Watt, Rachel Stimson, and Devin Vieira all scored points in the match. The Bobcats will have their first in-conference game against Norwich University on Saturday, September 14th.
Men's soccer traveled to Chestnut Hill to take on ACC foe Boston College. The Bobcats jumped out to a 2-0 lead at the half behind goals from Michelle Baker and Simon Hine. The Eagles came back with 2 goals of their own in the second half to force the draw. Borja and Goita had 6 saves. After the draw, the team traveled down to Easton, Pennsylvania for a matchup with Lafayette on Saturday. Lafayette scored in the 86th minute, and Simon Hyde scored the equalizer 23 seconds later, and the Bobcats earned a draw for the second straight game. The team hosts Loyola Maryland Wednesday for their home opener. Our own Andrew Badillo spoke to Coach Eric DaCosta earlier in the week.
Eric, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it.
You guys were in the NEC last year. Kind of a surprise season, made it all the way to the championship game, fell a little short. Moving on to the MAC, how do you guys feel you'll do in the MAC now?
We were excited. Obviously, we had a successful run last year, and we're obviously proud of those achievements. But we're excited about the MAC and the new challenges that come along with it. I think all of our boys have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. The guys returning from last year, and going into the MAC gives us a new life, new opportunity to create new history, and we're all excited about it.
You guys lost a lot of scoring. I know Phil Surprise, one of the greatest players in Quinnipiac soccer history. How do you feel that you're going to get your scoring? Are you going to rely more on Borja and Goita, your goalie, or are you going to rely more on a committee effort?
Yeah, it's definitely committee. Our style of play is always based on sharing the ball, and Philip was a consistent scorer for us. I think averaging 6 or 7 goals a season, which is great. It's the production that we need out of our forwards. We've got some guys in the program that are capable of doing the same, and may have been a little bit in the shadows last year because we had some players that were really producing. Philip, one of them. Robbie McClarney chipped in, and Will Daniels chipped in a few of his own. But we got a guy named Michelle Baker, who I think is going to surprise a lot of people and be a really exciting player for us to watch. Simon Hine, Rafael Carvalho, James Doing. We've got some players that can put the ball in the back of the net for us. And like I said, our style of play is conducive to sharing the goal-scoring opportunities, and we hope that they can all contribute in their own ways.
Going back to what you said earlier about a chip on your shoulder, Monmouth was named the favorite in the MAC. They moved with you guys to the MAC from the NEC last year. Does that kind of add fuel to the fire?
I wouldn't say fuel. Monmouth's always been a friendly rivalry of ours. We get on real well with their coaching staff, and the players always enjoy that game and are up for that game for both teams. I think it's 2 teams that in the NEC played really good soccer, really attractive soccer, and made for really competitive games every time we played against each other.
All right, thanks a lot, Coach DaCosta.
Check out the full interview on YouTube at Q30 TV. Coming up on Sports Paws, the women's soccer team takes on Brown and Holy Cross. The cross-country team traveled to Brown University on Saturday. Find out how they did next on Sports Paws.
The Bobcat Shop, located at 1010 Sherman Avenue in Hamden. Your #1 choice for Bobcat merchandise. The Bobcat Shop features 2 floors of countless styles and colors. With a full 19,000 square foot screen printing and embroidery operation on the premises, Campus Customs and Simplify can design and decorate any garment or promotional product as quickly as needed. Stop in and say hi.
Women's soccer is coming off their devastating last-minute loss to St. Joe's last Friday. They took on the Brown Bears in the school's first ever meeting. Here we go as senior defenseman Taylor Healy gets ready and Brown is introduced for their first contest of the season. We start 5 minutes into the game with Mika Siegelman on the attack, but Taylor Healy will have no part of that and QU clears. But Siegelman will get her revenge as the ball is crossed and Siegelman stymies the QU defense and puts it in the back of the net for the goal. She was all over the place for the Bears that afternoon. In the opening moments of the second half, QU is inside the box and they're going to get off a good shot here, but it goes wide and the Bobcats couldn't generate anything else and will lose this one 1-0. Our own Maury Hirsch Gordon sat down with Dave Clark after the game.
I thought we played well for the first 10 minutes or so. Thought we handled ourselves well, and then we gave up a silly goal, and then for about 10-15 minutes we lost our way.
What do you feel your team still needs to work on coming into Sunday?
They've got to continue to do their job. They've got to continue not to make mistakes and play to a system. And on the goal, all the mistakes that we preach, there was mental breakdowns in the goal, from playing her up the middle to flicking it in midfield to not tracking runners. But I thought we were okay in the first 10 or 15 minutes, but then, as I say, we lost our way.
With women's soccer coach Clark, I'm Mario Hirsch-Gordon, Q30 Sports.
Cross. We found out on Sunday morning in Hamden. In the first half, Anya McKeever with the free kick on the 18. Sends it in front, but there was no teammates in the box, and Holy Cross cleared it out. Later, Amanda Bobcat shoots in front, and Holy Cross goalkeeper Colleen McCabe makes a fantastic save. Later, Gina Regini takes it into the box, and a fantastic play by the Quinnipiac defense prevents a goal-scoring opportunity. Later, Claire Malone takes the ball down for Holy Cross, but the shot would go over the crossbar. Later, a free kick for QU would result in a Christina Bronkowski save. She is the all-time Holy Cross leader in goals against average. In the second half, Quinnipiac would have an opportunity, and they take a far shot, and Bronkowski makes the save again. This game would go into overtime. Later, Annie Galvin brings up the ball for Holy Cross, but a defender would come over, but they take the shot, and Gronkowski makes a save, and it's still 0-0. Later, into the second overtime, Holy Cross takes the ball downfield, but the Bobcats defense clears the ball out of harm's way, and it still remains 0-0. The Bobcats would have one last attempt, but Holy Cross has some fantastic defense, and they prevent the scoring opportunity. The game ended in a 0-0 tie. Quinnipiac goes to 0-3-1 on the season and prevented their fourth straight loss. The cross-country team traveled to Bryant University for a meet on Saturday morning. The women's team placed second overall. Jessica Soja, Chelsea Savage, Amanda Faust, and Allison Decker all finished in the top 20. Quinnipiac finished 1 point ahead of the third-place finishing Eagles of Boston College. The men had an equally impressive showing. Brendan Copley, Spencer Mannion, and Alex Doherty all finished in the top 20. The Bobcats finished in third place, 5 points away from second place. Quinnipiac is back in action at Iona College September 21st.
When we come back, women's volleyball return home for their first game this season in search of their first victory. And Q30 welcomes QBSN to the family. We'll be right back.
The Bobcat Shop, located at 1010 Sherman Avenue in Hamden. Your #1 choice for Bobcat merchandise. The Bobcat Shop features 2 floors of countless styles and colors. With a full 19,000 square foot screen printing and embroidery operation on the premises, Campus Customs and Simplify can design and decorate any garment or promotional product as quickly as needed. Stop in and say hi.
Coach Saplinski warming up his women while Providence comes in with a 1-2 record, and John Payne still making his presence felt at Burt Kahn. First set now, QU sets up a nice volley for Allison Lee, and she buries it for the Bobcats. Later in the set, Providence keeps it in, and Mackenzie Ziegler, no relation to our executive producer Jordan, with the pinpoint placement for the point. Providence serving, Bobcats set up Lee again, but it's wide, and Providence takes the first set. To the second set we go. The Bobcats mounting a comeback as Ziegler spike goes too far, and we're tied at 23. Next point here, Ziegler once again using that touch to put the Friars up by 1. Set point here, QU sets up the spike, but it's going to be blocked by the Friars, and the Friars take set 2. Last chance for the Bobcats here. Set 3 it is, as Jordan Weisler gets the ace, and there's a little confusion on the Bobcats side there. Later in the third, PC sets up Colleen McCollum with the kill. Friars taking control here. Match point. QU sets up Jamie Palucci for the spike. Providence blocks it, manages to get it back over. Bobcats second strike for the kill, and it ends up getting back to Kayla Fitzgerald, and she's going to put it away for the Friars as they win 3-0, and Quinnipiac drops to 0-5 on the year.
Here at Q30 TV, it is our goal to bring the best of Quinnipiac athletics to the viewing public, as this organization is growing with the help of another media outlet known as the Quinnipiac Bobcat Sports Network, or QBSN. This network has taken over the former Q30 show Bobcat Blitz and has rebranded it as Bobcat Breakdown. The show now features analysis of Quinnipiac athletics in a debate style. Our very own Tom Albanese sat down with members of QBSN.
I'm joined by three members of Quinnipiac University's student media organizations. First, immediately to my right is the chairman of the Quinnipiac Bobcat Sports Network, Mr. Kevin Noonan. And right next to him is one of the executive producers for the new Q30 show, Bobcat Breakdown, Marty Joseph. And of course, all the way across from me is the general manager of Q30 Television, Mr. John Albanese. So guys, thanks so much for joining us on the show today. So obviously, one thing that has started this semester is the Quinnipiac Bobcat Sports Network has pretty much come into the Q30 family by taking over the show that was formerly known as Bobcat Blitz and turning it into Bobcat Breakdown. So first, let me start with you guys by saying this. How did this Q30 QBSN partnership begin?
Well, the other executive producer of Bobcat Breakdown, Zach Daly, was one of the executive producers of Bobcat Blitz, and that show had seen dwindling numbers, and it started to become difficult to produce the show on a weekly basis. So last semester, when John Alba was elected the general manager of Q30, he approached us and said, this show's in trouble. If you don't come and save it, pretty much it's going to disappear. So we decided last semester that we were going to try to revamp it and see what we can do to make it more of a Quinnipiac discussion show instead of national sports, and we gave it a shot and it worked, and he pretty much gave us full control over the show as we came into this school year. And with the addition of Marty Joseph to the executive producer role, I think the show is really coming to its own. It's a great discussion of Quinnipiac sports, and it's been a great show so far. One weekend, and there's going to be great things to expect for it the rest of the semester and into next semester.
Yeah, I'm really just going off that. At least since I've been here, since my freshman year, it always seems like every year QBSN at least has tried to take another step forward and really challenge itself every year. We had our first show. It definitely can use some improvements, but for our first show, I'm pretty happy overall, and I'm looking forward to the challenge of keeping it going.
So John, let me go with you with this next question. As the general manager of Q30 Television, what is your overall plan for Bobcat Breakdown heading into this semester?
I mean, the beauty of the Bobcat Breakdown, Tom, is that these gentlemen over here have the freedom to do what they want with it. And the Q30 Sports Department was very successful last year, featured on the national stage several times, had one of our other shows, this show in particular, Sports Paws, nominated on a national level. There's no reason that the Bobcat Breakdown can't do the same. You know, when I approached Kevin last year about this, the one thing that QBSN was missing was video. And now we can take that to the next step with a show like this.
Now, for both of you guys working closely with this new show, what are some of the things you guys hope to incorporate into this show, making it new this semester?
Well, one thing we started to do is, along with Sports Paws, we've started to acquire some more B-roll so we can play clips over us while we're talking and give people a look at the Quinnipiac sports. But pretty much one thing we want to do is get everybody behind the scenes practice, because we all want to be on air doing sports, but there's not a job for everybody being on air. So we think it's important for everybody to get as much practice behind the scenes, working the TriCaster, the teleprompter, the cameras, anything, as well as all the production work before we even go on, putting that B-roll together, putting together graphics and whatnot. We're giving everybody opportunities.
And really just going off what John said about lacking the video, QBSN and Q30 can just work off each other so well, and we have so many opportunities now that we have this show. We can incorporate different segments in QBSN into Q30. We can use, like he said, more B-roll and add to the show, really try to get some packs in the show as well. I know that's one major thing we need to do, because that is what lacked last year at least. It was more of just discussion without it was really bland. There wasn't really any extra content into it. So we can get some news packs into it along with B-roll, and even just keep the content up and make sure everyone's prepared. And like he said, behind the scenes stuff, that's going to be the biggest thing, because I know that him and myself are still learning some of the behind the scenes stuff. So if we can get a good solid core group of people involved in that and keep the numbers up and keep everyone involved and make sure everyone's happy, I think that's going to be our biggest goal.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us on the show today. And everyone out there can get involved in Bobcat Breakdown and come watch the show. It's Tuesday night, 7 o'clock p.m. in the media suite. For all the panel, for John, Marty, and Kevin, I'm Tom Albanese. Let's send it back to the studio, guys. Take it away.
Quinnipiac tennis coach Mike Quicko named his captains for both the men and women's tennis teams. The senior tandem of Corey Morgenstern and Andrew Whedon will serve as the men's captains, while the women will have 4 captains. Senior Mary Chupa, along with juniors Jacqueline Rayner, Michelle Dassa, and Ariana Lani, will lead the Bobcats as they look to continue their success as they join the MAC.
Well, we had a very busy week in Quinnipiac athletics, but the next week is slated to be even busier.
Indeed. On Wednesday, Loyola of Maryland travels to Hamden to take on the men's soccer team. Also on Wednesday, volleyball will travel to St. Francis of New York.
Friday will be even busier as women's tennis is hosting the Quinnipiac Invitational in Hamden. Participants include the University of Connecticut, Army, Navy, and Providence College.
Also on Friday, women's soccer travels to Burlington, Vermont to take on the University of Vermont. Field hockey will take on Lafayette College. Finally, women's volleyball will travel to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania to take on Lehigh University.
On Saturday, the Quinnipiac Invitational will enter its second day. Women's rugby travels to Norwich University to take on the Cadets, and volleyball will take on Lafayette and Morgan State in a tournament in Easton, Pennsylvania.
Holy Cross will travel to Hamden to take on the men's soccer team. And finally, on Sunday, the Quinnipiac Invitational will wrap up.
That is certainly one busy week. Never a dull moment here on Sports Paws.
Well, that's it for this week. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Q30Sports.
If you're interested in joining Q30, email q30television@gmail.com.
From all of us here at Sports Paws, good night.